Dr. Jazz.
I wanted to ask you something. I have it on CD of Sonogram,
Uh-huh.
your album, and I'm a guitarist. So I'm a huge Sonny Sharrock fan. And
Uh-huh.
how did that record happen? And you were playing with Sonny. I mean, what's the story there? How did you guys meet and hook up? And
Well, the story goes that the real story is that I don't do very much to promote myself, and I certainly didn't then, especially in the middle of those genius musicians that I had a great opportunity
that's
to
a
work
monster
with.
album, by the way. That's really like
Yeah. Well, it I have to admit, I was in the middle of having my daughter
okay.
being born, hence the name Sonogram. So it's the first time I'm about to be a father. I'm having this wonderful opportunity to be in Sonny Sharrock's comeback band. And Bob Musso, who was uh, a great engineer, just had this idea that I should, you know, include all of these great musicians, or basically ask them to do me a favor because he didn't pay any money, and you know,
The usual,
uh,
yeah.
the usual thing. And so it's everybody doing favors for everybody, and making it look like Musso had a label, which maybe you could say he's certainly done things to um, uh, promote himself. I don't know if he's done it for anyone else, but at the time, in the making of CDs and cassettes was a nice thing to think of doing, um, and we did it. I was completely in another world, let's
Mm.
say, because I was spending more time reading books like what to expect when you're expecting,
Yeah, yeah.
than I was you know trying to compose music and get it ready for these guys to play. Um and you know I guess the best part about that was Chirac was the most unassuming, egoless,
Mm.
and just benevolent contributor in this regard. Um, I, the only one I think that was no one was my age. Kenny Davis was very young at the time, but I had
Yeah,
heard him. I knew he was a great bass player. I knew he was going to be great. But of course, Stubblefield
yeah. It's
was nice enough to play with me in my band called Key One, where we would play, like really complicated music, like Wayne Shorter's music from Atlantis.
oh yeah.
Actually sent me the music, a couple of pieces from Atlantis, and we played that. Nobody was playing that music in that time. We did. I did things with Carlos Ward
Yep.
from time to time, uh, which was always a nice thing to experience his own music. Most people only knew him as a guy who would play with others like
Yeah.
Abdul Ibrahim and such. Um, but yes, Sonny's contribution there, as you see, is really the way he voices the chords, on Miles Davis's. I chose to do one cover, so to, as you, if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
Of, you know, if you're gonna play something from Miles, I think it should be something that no one else has played and is actually, you know, I guess a way to make yourself comfortable
yeah,
because no one else has, overplayed it, or you're not likely to play something in a repeater style way.
yeah, yeah.
Like uh, Lester Young would say in a disguised way about Coleman Hawkins, the repeater. So, that's part of why you find me in so many situations that are not conventional because
Yeah.
I love music so much. I don't want to be a you know uh, let's say I'd rather reinforce things
Mm,
that I find beautiful with my own perspective, um, as opposed to you know trying to recreate repertoire and many times improvisational compositions
yeah.
um, that has been done before. So, um, the other part of Chirac is that you wouldn't know what a funny guy he was. I mean, he he was a little bit soft spoken unless in the right company, and then he would just berate us from the moment we got to the airport to the moment we came back home. He would just have all kinds of horrible things to say about each band member. And yeah, it was if you could just imagine him looking at me with those eyes of his that are or sort of bulged
Yeah, yeah.
and and saying with a smirk, Ak the king. He would call me in a in a of course I always wear my hats and such. And he'd look at me and say, Ak the king. And he was like, okay, this is long before there was the kind of sardonic humor on television everyone sees today. Uh, yeah, he was quite special.
Mm.
I remember him telling me, he says, "Yeah, he my grandmother said to me when I was young, yeah, you should go to church. When are you gonna go to church?" And he said, I told her, "Are you kidding me? You better put on some Coltrane." So you want to go to church? You better put on some Coltrane. So, so there are a lot of memorable moments
Yeah.
I had with Chirac, and I just wish there was more playing time. Um, there there has been discussion about um, doing something of his music with various people, but
Oh,
I just
beautiful.
saw, huh?
That would be beautiful.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I just saw something that I had forgotten about. My nonprofit organization put together an Eric Dolphy celebration. We did it in 2014
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
I
did
saw
it,
that. Yeah.
yeah, in 2024. In 2014, Vernon Reed decided to play with us, and we decided to um, do a little trio and play a Sonny Chirac piece.
Mm.
I had forgotten that had happened. Vernon is really cool. Though he's also a big rock star in his own regard, he still remembers all his fun times you know, from the 70s and 80s with his friends. And so I might be calling on him again.
Yeah, I mean he's a monster player, you know. I wish he would do more of kind of Chirac style playing, you know, because he can do that
Well,
stuff
it,
really
it
well.
takes
So
someone it takes someone to ask him to
yeah,
do that. That's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's just like with me. I may not think of everything unless someone else does. So sometimes we have to prompt each other
yeah,
to get the best results.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, have you done any band leading also lately? I mean, speaking of Sonogram and you as a band leader.
Well, I have not much, but
Mhm.
I am going to now.
Oh, okay, okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of preparing a huge work, hopefully monumental and life changing. Um, and that is Robeson Rise. So I am bringing up, or should I say, I am reestablishing the vibration of Paul Robeson. So, Paul Robeson is not the most known of the what we would call sometimes civil rights leaders,
Hmm.
but in his case, human rights and perhaps more, in that he used his artistry in so many ways. Being a brilliant man of letters, both, from universities and from the downtrodden who respected his views on the way in which governments should work, the way in which humanity should serve, the way in which injustices should be met. He is an example of someone who is uh, like a tall tree in the forest,
Hmm.
yet no one talks about him. And it's seldom is there anything done. I shouldn't say no one talks about him. Let's say he is as much of an overlooked afterthought as someone like the guy who played drums on all these records and nobody really knows who he is, but yeah, there he is again. You know, so that's part of the drummer life, right?
Oh
We
man,
make,
yeah,
we make a lot of music, and we
absolutely,
sit in the
man. Yeah.
back, and then oh yeah, oh, was that you playing drums back there? Oh, really?
Yeah, well,
so
yeah,
so Robeson's important for me. My mother named me after him, and I intend to make some noise at this time. It's a good time to make noise, right?
absolutely. Yeah, good timing.
So New Haven, Connecticut, there's a place called the Firehouse 12.
Yeah.
Firehouse 12. I'm trying to get my face to look at the right place on my phone. I don't think my computer is warmed up yet.
Oh, it's cool. It's
Okay.
yeah.
Um, so Firehouse 12 has invited me to come down there and play. Uh, I'll have the first renditions of this Robeson Rise material.
Beautiful.
And Sumi Tanuka plays piano, Jay Rodriguez plays saxophone, alto flute, traditional flutes from Colombia and other places in the world. Keith Whitty, who was actually a student of mine many, many, many years ago, is playing bass. He now lives in France. When I do it in New York, we'll have Lisette Santiago playing percussion.
Mm.
In New Haven, I'll have one of my old friends sit in and play percussion. Jarawa, Brian Jarawa Gray. In Philadelphia on May 10th, we'll do just quartet. That'll be Keith playing bass, Sumi playing piano, and Jay on woodwinds.
Fantastic.
In New York at the Vision Festival on June 4th, not only will this ensemble be there, but I'll feature a young bassist named Jonathan Toscano and Jahi Sundance, a DJ,
Oh, wow.
so we'll be able to have that very modern, theatrical, and overwhelming aura of Robeson.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to this, man. Yeah, when it comes out. Also, yeah.
Yeah, I think they will actually do the, what do you call it, the streaming.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, super. That's
Where
easy.
do you live?
I'm in Slovenia, Europe.
Oh, great! One of my favorite places. I had forgotten you said you. Maybe that's why I agreed to doing this, because you said you were from Slovenia. Now it comes back to me.
I saw you. I saw you with Don Byron like 16 years, 17
Oh
years ago
yeah.
in Ljubljana. Like I think it's with Brad Jones, with Brad on bass, and who else was in a killing group, by the way. And
Yeah, I remember being able to play in Slovenia thanks to all the people there who really
yeah, you played many times here.
appreciate the music.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I think the most significant. I still have snapshots, photographs. I would take my camera a lot of places,
Oh yeah.
So I still have photographs from days in Slovenia and in the maybe even early '80s.
Oh, that's like Yugoslavia still. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Fantastic.
right. That's right. And I have old friends that I would every time I'd go back, like when I went to Macedonia to play Skopje
Yeah.
with Andrew Hill and Reggie Workman.
Mm.
I was just worried because the war was still going on, and I was like, I wonder if I'll ever see my friends again, And then one guy showed up, Dragon. What is his last name? I can't remember. Kortnik? I don't know. Dragan Kortnik. I can't remember his name exactly, but he was a friend that I would see throughout the '80s, and then I think I did 1999 was when we did the piece with Andrew Hill.
Oh yeah, that's in the middle of
That was the last time I saw him. So, but that's that weird feeling of like, oh, there's a war going on. I hope my friends are still alive.
Yeah.
I think I went on television and cried that day. Oh no, that was the day I did a band leader job in Ljubljana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like 93 or something, 92, 93. When Brane had a television
On
show.
television show, yeah, of course, I remember that, man. I was killing shows back then on.
Yeah, and some of the guys played with me. I got some musicians from Ljubljana to play with me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone but the singer. The singer didn't come. I don't know why, but it's too bad because I had some really deep lyrics to the song. But yeah.
Back in the days. Yeah. I wanted to ask you also something. You mentioned Andrew Hill and Reggie, both legends on their own, and like you've played. I checked the CD. I have a big CD collection still, and I have you like on more than 40 CDs, I think. And like two names, two of my favorite people are Henry Threadgill and Wadada. And I did this interview with Wadada like 3 weeks ago, and we talked about the Golden Quartet and like, what are your stories with Henry and Wadada? How did you guys? I know with Wadada you played like mid-70s already, right, or late 70s?
Right. So I moved to New Haven, Connecticut in 1975,
Already, okay.
I went there to put together a band to keep myself busy before trying to figure out how to move to New York. So I spent a few years in New Haven, and during that time, I met Wadada. We shared the stage at a Yale University protest performance,
Wow.
protesting the speaking of a gene, a guy who had a theory on genealogy and basically kind of like a way to suggest inferiority of African Americans or African derived, people
Oh,
who
wow.
they
Yeah.
thought were from Africa, like as if Europeans weren't from Africa too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a bit,
did
yeah.
this guy forget what what was prehistory? Before they started writing down what they wanted to write down about who killed whom. So anyway, we played this festival of protest at Yale, and our band played, and Wadada's band played also. Wadada, I told him, I really like your music. Actually, that's why I came to the East Coast to play music like that. Um, and in fact, I had an opportunity to meet Rashid Ali because
Mhm.
I was auditing a class that Robert Ferris Thompson was teaching, who was a great African art professor and spiritual man in general. And so he brought Rashid Ali's band to Yale to play, and I got a chance to meet him
Oh, wow.
on my 20th birthday when there was a full moon. So I think there was a certain amount of providence or, well, with serendipitous or lucky to be on the planet kind of thing going on there. So Rashid invited me to his club, and I got a chance to, just see what it was really like, and
Mm.
to decide to be a musician and live in New York. And even though it was daunting, I did it anyway. But yeah, so I met Wadada then. Davis was in the band. Oliver Lake was in the band. Um, he asked me if I wanted to play a duo concert. That's the first time I had never heard of such. I mean, I knew of Andrew Cyrille and
Sure.
Milford Graves's duo, and I always thought of that being interesting. And I knew of Mustafa Tediadi's solo record, which I always wanted to do, and I did one. I did a solo record, and it inspired by his. But the duo concept of drums and trumpet was really unfamiliar to me in 1975. I was 20 years
Sure.
old. We did it. He enjoyed it. I ended up doing more work with him with the New Doll to Our Creed project that had Wes Brown playing bass, Oliver Lake playing alto and flute, Anthony Davis piano.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
we did some things in New York, and that's how Threadgill was able to hear me play, or either
Mm.
with Amina. Like Amina asked me to do a record. We did speaking of duo, one of the greatest duos ever done is Song of Mother Eve by Amina Claudine Myers.
Mm.
So that's how I got involved with Threadgill. I joined his sextet at the time, which had Munir Abdul Fattah playing cello, and Fred Hopkins, of course,
Yeah,
and
monster band. I
and
mean, really.
Oludara and Craig Harris, and yeah, so that was the first sextet, and John Betch, of course. So I really learned how to play with another drummer. I learned how to read notation better for drum set because that was one. Well, I was reading the conventional notation with Threadgill's ensembles, and I was reading Wadada's own
Yeah,
version of notation with his ensemble. So my head was pretty busy with those guys and focused. You know, both of them are really focused
yeah,
and requires focus to play that music.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I love this the Threadgill stuff you guys did. You know, later with Reggie also Nicholson and
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah, we really had a
Frank
good
Lacey
blend.
on trombone and yeah,
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
was a very strong
yeah.
ensemble.
Love,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
beautiful music, like pushing the
Yeah, in
boundaries.
fact,
Yeah.
I last time I saw him, we were remembering what a great studio that was when we did the record that the whichever one that is that has Asha Puthli on it.
Oh yeah.
That was quite a session. I thought it could have been mixed better, but that's I've always that's just me. but uh,
No, but
but yeah,
beautiful
because
stuff. Yeah.
when you hear something like Sonogram, um, that's a serious mix.
Yeah.
That's a serious mix.
Yeah.
And then, but that one with Threadgill, the one like it feels, is one of the pieces on that later ensemble
Yeah.
because I wasn't working with him for a while, and Gene Lake was playing drums with him. And then one of those records, he asked me to do a couple concerts during that period with that ensemble with the two tubas and the guitars.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, very, very circus, right? Yeah, so that was just brilliant. I just had such a good time with that. Um,
Oh
hmm
yeah, with Brandon Ross on guitar. Yeah, yeah, that band.
hmm
And Marcos
hmm
on tuba. Yeah, yeah, that's a monster band. Yeah, yeah. What about
Yeah.
Oliver? With Oliver Lake, you also go way back, right? Like mid 70s already, or
Well, right. Well,
same
actually,
period,
when
right?
I played with Wadada, uh, I met Oliver.
Yeah, yeah.
And the first thing Oliver asked me to do was a record because he had just gotten an opportunity to record
Oh yeah, for Black Saint.
Novus
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
or Black Saint. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it was Aristonovus.
Oh
But
yeah.
but but so therefore I did the first thing I did with Oliver was a record. And that may have even precluded uh, the first record with Wadada. I'm not sure. But yeah, so we did that record, then we did all kinds of other things. And
Yeah, yeah.
my first European tour uh, was with him, and
Oh,
yeah, that was quite special. We played Mers, we played Groningen, we played
oh wow.
A Week in Paris.
Oof.
Might ease the bite, but that's a line from the song "Lush Life."
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, um, yeah, it was very important formative years for me, um, and it was work with those guys, but it was also a little bit of if I can say, a bit of Maya. It was a bit of an illusion
Mm. In what sense?
in the sense that I thought I was really doing something so important that this was it in life.
Mm.
so, so of course we know that you know when you're working with music and creative music and music that is not designed to be commercial and has no particular organized way of, you know, remitting some kind of financial reward on an either continual or even imaginative
Yeah,
basis, you're committing yourself in a certain kind of way. It's a service. It's a real
yeah,
service to humanity and to yourself. But you know, the to yourself part ends up being the most notable part of it because humanity could take it or leave it, you know. So therefore, you know, when it comes to career building, it in your when you're in your 20s, it's really important to think about, well, do you really want to commit to doing this?
yeah,
And I did because I was lucky enough to have parents who thought music was important. They would give us all music lessons when we were children. They had respect for music. They had no idea what this creative music was about, even though my dad was a big jazz fan. And there would be times he would say, "Yeah, I guess that's okay. That's okay. Well, that's okay." You know, but of course he's of another generation, and he gave Miles Davis his "Bitches Brew" to me. He's like, sorry, you might like this, but I won't be putting it on. Yeah, yeah, that was it. He went,
can imagine.
although
Yeah,
I'll never forget, he really enjoyed Andrew Hill's record "Grassroots."
that's some.
So
Yeah,
much so it's emblazoned in my heart. And being with Andrew was such that you just felt like you were in this kind of little suspended heaven all the time. So I couldn't remember. I was always talking about living in the now. There's some people that make you live in the now
yeah,
because you don't want to miss what they have to offer. But that, to my fault, was that I didn't tell him some of the most important things. Like, you know, my dad got that Grassroots record, and I listened to it every day when I came home from high school. You know, but yeah,
did you
yeah.
play a lot with Andrew?
No, no,
Huh.
just a few things.
Mm,
But you know, a few things, but memorable.
yeah,
Hmm.
he's one of my favorite
Yeah, we,
composers ever.
you know, they weren't. They should have recorded this one we did at Sweet Basil with Rufus Reed and Benny Maupin.
Oh wow, man.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Hmm.
Talking about the things gone miss. But there's a guy named Mike West who's doing a book on Andrew coming up soon.
Really? Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably be out late this year, early next year, I
Oh,
believe.
fantastic.
Hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I mean that's why I'm doing these talks as well, just because you guys have so many stories, including yourself. Like you've done so much work. You probably each one of you guys could do a book, like, and it's like probably a chapter only on playing with Sonny Sharrock or whoever, or and it's just, and this is the beautiful part about jazz, I think, this stories and the
Yeah, there's some really
oral
good
tradition
stories
and
that I should have a book almost as railing and hot as a Charles Mingus book.
mm,
That's
yeah,
okay. Yeah, not
no,
now anyway.
no,
Maybe
no,
later.
maybe later.
There's a long interview that a guy named Ken Weiss did during the pandemic, where I'm saying all kinds of critical things, and I said, "Nah, you can't put it out now. Can't, yeah. Or the NYPD will be, putting holes in my car, you know." I was like, I can see it. I can see it now. Are you the guy that did that interview in Cadence Magazine that no one reads? but yet and still, you were so critical of all of these despots in government that we want to detain you and bother you. And like, it's like, don't worry. I'll play some drums for you. You'll never
Exactly.
forget it.
When did you move to New York, by the way? Speaking of, you mentioned Wadada, and then that this was kind of like the
Yeah, I
trigger to
moved.
moving to New
Yeah,
York.
yeah. Well, what happened was in New Haven, which was a haven. It really was a
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful place to live.
yeah.
A lot of good vibes. Um, Davis knew he was going to move to New York because once he graduated from Yale, he wanted to just go to move to New York. Mark Elias wanted to move to
Oh
New
yeah,
York.
Mark. Yeah, yeah.
Ed Cherry wanted to move to New York. Um, Everybody wanted to move to New York to really play. Some people decided to stay, like Dwight Andrews stayed. He was working on his PhD. Um, but yeah, living in New York was important for us when we were in our 20s. And so by 1978, I decided to move. But I was working there since 75. I'd just go back and forth from New
Yeah.
Haven. Uh, and oddly enough, I'd go back and forth with my drums on the train sometimes.
Oh man,
Because sometimes I didn't want to drive. But I would take drums on the public train, you
that's
know,
dedication.
for,
Yeah.
certain trails. Yeah. Well, I took drums throughout Europe too on the trains from time to time when we were younger. And we'd get the first class tickets because we'd have Eurail passes.
Pass. Yeah, yeah, sure.
And so would bring all our instruments into the first class compartments, and all these grandmothers were looking at us like, "What are you doing here? Because most people didn't travel in the first class compartments, you know. But it helped because we had all that equipment. So yeah, it's quite funny.
Amazing, man. Yeah. Was it hard for you when you went to New York, like this late 70s, early 80s
No, it
period, or?
wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't at all because I was working so much.
Yeah, yeah, it was way
I
different
was
also.
in 3 or 4 different bands. Uh, I would sometimes go back to New Haven to teach in some music school or arts, like arts school or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was busy. I kept myself busy. You know, I didn't have bad habits. You know, so it wasn't so difficult. But then, once I start watching the critics enjoy all this resurgence of conservative music, coming out of people's butts, and like these little farts, that are all of a sudden getting so much attention in a way to sort of put water on a flame of the avant-garde, which was really what people wanted.
Hmm.
So the conservatism started back in '81 with Reagan and um, the wearing of suits, on the bandstand. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
it's like, what? You're doing what? You know, we did all this for you to you take us back. And you see what happens. That backward swing starts, a snowball effect.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's why we have what we have now.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so therefore I started watching that. I said, I think I'm just gonna go back to school and be a psychologist. You know. So as soon as I said that, I got a call to go to Africa
Oh, well.
for 2 weeks and make more money than I was making in Europe at the time.
Wow.
So I said, well, maybe I better continue this music thing. Maybe it's not so bad after all. So, yeah, I
Absolutely.
went I went to Cote d'Ivoire and did a couple of weeks with a dance company.
Oh wow.
The dance master was uh, a woman from Cote d'Ivoire who was doing classic ballet from Cote d'Ivoire. And she brought us there to do that and play some, put some jazz in the middle of it and all that. And it was great. And I decided to stay longer and live there for a few months. And
Wow, really interesting.
yeah, it was great. It was a great way to reestablish myself as a musician and say, yeah, this is for me. Yeah, at that time I you know was forced to speak French, which is, as an American you have to be forced. And uh then I went to visit my friend who's Frank Fairfax, who's working on his dissertation on urban Nigerian music. So he introduced me to Fela and a lot of other musicians there. So I had a chance to hear that band at the
Nice.
shrine, in their environment. And so, yeah, it was really special.
Wow.
And
Mm.
so that was, you figure, 83, 81, and
Wow.
82 did a State Department tour because Oliver was such a diplomat. Uh, yeah, Oliver was a diplomat, all right, but he had begun dreadlocks. He had just begun starting his dreadlocks. And so uh, in the country of Malawi, where a lot of hippies would go because it was such a beautiful place, and the Hastings Banda, the head of Malawi, I don't know if you would call him president um, he was the head of state,
Yeah.
whatever they called the head of state of Malawi at that time, prime minister, whatever.
Yeah.
But he had really strict rules for the public. And he had a policy that, women could not wear pants unless in public unless they were working. Men had to wear suits at the airport.
Wow.
And in fact, you don't know how many times in the early 80s I would see African men wearing 3-piece wool suits at 9.5-degree weather. But he also was trying to make sure that the hippies didn't take over. So he had a policy of men could not enter the country with hair that touches their shoulders.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the State Department officials were really concerned with Oliver and his dreadlocks. So they said, well, Oliver, you think it would be okay if you wear a wig when we go to Malawi? We played Malawi, we played Cote d'Ivoire, we played Togo, we played
Wow.
uh, ba, 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 Liberia, of
Wow.
course, where I made my closest friends. Um, Swaziland.
Wow.
So we played these places, and at least in Malawi, which is a wonderful place, conservative as it was. So Oliver wears a wig to get into Malawi and out. Mm. But the funniest part was someone said, and it may have been Threadgill, they said, "Oh yeah, Oliver, look," because they took photo there. We had photos, of us going on a diplomatic tour. So somebody said, "Oliver looks like Earl Father Hines." Yeah, it was quite special time. And Yeah,
a
so
long time
I
ago.
I
Yeah.
decided to move to New York in '78, and I worked a lot, and it was good. It was a good time. I think what we were doing would have been a little bit eclipsed by the production era of, so people were really interested in sound production and
Mm,
commercial music. And I was too, being from Detroit.
yeah,
I
yeah,
heard a lot. I did a lot of funk and soul, and people were surprised that I did that. They'd only heard me play that other way, and so we sort of took that as a little bit of a way to go and make a reggae band, because the reggae, funk, and jazz that we did wasn't just to play commercially for kids to dance, or for people to say, "Oh, that's cool." We were interested in political lyrics,
mm,
so it was a way to, or political or humanitarian lyrics. That was a way to make message music for us,
yeah,
and which is very different than the conservatism that came out of Lincoln Center, which was really to keep people and take people back to the toe tapping kind of jazz, and for the most part put this kind of whitewashed face on it so that it wasn't threatening.
yep,
That's the once your art becomes threatening, stuff comes down from all kind of areas that you would never expect to invest in the conformity of that catalyst, or
yeah,
that
yeah, yep,
art form, or whatever it is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, you still you're on so many important records. I mean, man, it's like that. I know you said
Well,
you were in
I
the
was
drummer
just
seat,
lucky to
but
have so many
you know,
important people around
yeah,
me.
yeah. So
I
it's
mean, and I think that they would vibe with me. I mean,
yep,
just being in a room with somebody like Leroy Jenkins,
mm,
it's like,
yeah,
and there's this, you can just sit there and listen for days about how he was connected to so much of our history. I remember him telling me a story about that he went to church with Dinah Washington.
wow,
And so one day he saw Dinah Washington sitting in the car with Max Roach. So he ran up to and he ran up to her, and of course, we can just imagine what they may have been talking about, right? But she certainly didn't want to be bothered by a young guy coming up to her, calling her the name that she didn't use, her original name, Ruth. He says, "Hey, Ruth, how you doing? I'm Avery." What do you, Ruth? Get out of here! Who told you to come over here and talk to me? Get away from me, kid. Yeah, so that was such a funny story, and of course it would take Leroy to tell it, but
yeah, yeah, of course,
but yeah, so there was so much I could learn from people who said three words, like Frank Lowe, Frank
mm,
Frank Lowe said three words. That's all he played. Everything else was in the music, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to be a part of a groundswell of significant artists who all came to New York with that purpose, the same purpose that you found in someone like Jimi Hendrix and John Coltrane.
sure, yep,
We knew that this was a digging deep that was important to refine and to present, and maybe to workshop. Maybe
yep,
it wasn't all perfect, but we knew that the purpose was pure and clear.
yeah, Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, all the guys you played with, like from Threadgill to Anthony Davis, Wadada. There's definitely a new kind of avant-garde that you. I mean, I hate that word in a way. Music, I'll put it like that, that you created, and for nowadays artists, which is important. So, we all listen to that. I still do and get inspired, and so that's important, man. Yeah. Farron, not to get you delayed so that you won't get
I'm no delay. I have
kicked
till
kicked out of
12:30.
your room, but I wanted to ask you, like, do you have any plans of coming to Europe or with a project or as a?
Oh yeah, yeah. On the 21st of May, I'll do yet another iteration of this ropes and rise material, um, and that is at Basel.
Oh, really? Wow.
What's the Offbeat Festival on May 21st?
Wow.
Yeah, Basel, a place I've enjoyed over the years, but I haven't been in 20 years. I haven't. You may have noticed that there are two generations that have come and gone, and and I'm sure many of them have no idea who I am and what I did. But so we'll have to remind them.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, these days we'll see just how much there will be interest in the dinosaur here. So we'll see.
Come on. But I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't.
no, but I mean, and when you hear what I'm doing, you're gonna be surprised. I mean, just me. But then when you putting it together with all these other young musicians, woo, it's really good. I've been playing. I've been working on my left side. I've been doing body therapy called Feldenkrais, and I've been working to get my body as balanced as possible and to use the
Mm,
left side of my body as much as possible. So I play bass drum with left, and right, and I have floor tom on right and left. And so I'm composing more from the drums like I used to do in the old days. So as opposed to trying to plunk around on the piano to compose, I'm composing right from the drum set, which has a very different sound to it. That's
yeah.
what I was doing during the sonogram period, I think. After that, the next record, ensemble record, Global
Mantras.
Mantras,
Yeah, yeah.
was,
That's a beautiful
yeah, it
one.
was a little bit more, trying to do things like your average jazz musician or ensemble musician. I
Mm.
shouldn't say
That's a nice
average.
record. I mean,
But it's something that I wanted to do to utilize the musicians, and not necessarily focus on drums,
yeah.
so to speak. Um, but yeah, so this is coming up to be uh, a good period. I did a few presentations in Australia and New Zealand in
Well,
2022. So that was really groundbreaking for me. And it feels like a pilgrimage when I go to Australia and New Zealand. Maybe it's a past life thing. Similar to Japan, not the same, but
mm,
um, it is something that happens because I believe what I've put a lot of energy into is spiritual work that recognizes the me before I was me, you know. And that's what happens sometimes with drums and drummers and the ritualistic aspect
yeah.
we are able to plug into quite easily. And then when you do that, it allows you to communicate beyond time, beyond this concept of time and space that we can be locked in from time to time. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I hope to catch you. If I mean, Switzerland is too far from where we are, but if you're ever close to Austria or something, just drop me a line. We'll get together for
Austria, I'd love to be close to Austria. I spent some of
yeah.
my best days in
I
Austria.
can imagine. Yeah, Vienna and all these places. Yeah, Graz.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll come over there and play, and then it's like sometimes musicians like me expect to get professional engagements, but I'm okay. I'm celebrating my 70th right now. I'll just come over there and play. I'll just come over there and show up at your house.
Man, I have a drum set here, so we can
Yeah,
play.
that sounds good. I'll
We have a
show up.
guest room, so
I'll tell you to call all the young musicians. Yeah, come
absolutely,
on.
man.
Let's
Oh,
do it.
absolutely,
One of
absolutely.
my best artist friends, Peter Schulnig from Austria, has moved to oh he's moved to the Black Sea. What's that? Croatia.
Hmm.
He's moved to Croatia, but sometimes we do projects together. He's painting and I'm playing drums. He was one of the original people to put together the Saalfelden Festival,
Oh,
which
really?
is
Oh, wow, I
which
didn't know that.
became it's a behemoth now.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
But he and all those artists from that area, um,
Oh,
got that going, got that community where they could understand the music
yeah,
and yeah, yeah, yeah,
beautiful,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
super.
So yeah, and you want to come to Basel, I'll get you a ticket. I'll get you either an admission ticket or a plane ticket. Which one do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's far. We have a 2-year-old daughter also at home, so it's not that
Oh,
easy.
great.
Man, like
Oh, wow.
I'm like in that phase, so it's
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I hope we get to meet and even play one day or have a glass of wine or something together and
Oh, certainly,
get that.
certainly we will. And of course, you come to New York, we have to get together.
I'll drop you a line, definitely.
And now, what about you? And so you've been doing this video podcast, or
Yeah,
was it
yeah, yeah.
podcast, or
Yeah, I mean it's like a archive of video interviews. Yeah, I've done like more than 550 musicians. Like
uh-huh, right?
it's yeah, it's like I like as a musician I also like to listening to you guys
Now,
and
what instrument do you play?
I play guitar, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a record. I know you did Eric Dolphy's music. I did like during COVID a solo acoustic guitar record of all Dolphy's compositions.
Oh my
I'll send
goodness.
you a link to that. I
I
mean,
have this feeling you're not the only one, or I heard about that.
maybe
Because
yeah.
when we do those Dolphy festivals, we get communication from people all the time.
Oh wow, yeah,
So people are saying, "Oh yeah, I did this on Dolphy, I did." And in fact, I'm going to see James Newton tomorrow. I'm in
oh
Los
man,
Angeles. How could I not see James Newton
Woo.
tomorrow? Talk about great musicians.
Oh absolutely, man.
Yeah. So, so he helped me tremendously in honoring Eric Dolphy and understanding more about his background, his house, his teachers, and we had symposiums discussing that.
Yeah,
Uh, both times we did the celebrations, we had symposiums. So at some point, I may make them public. I mean, we have to kind of talk about that. Is it a library?
mm,
Is it a commercial product? Is it, we don't know what it is yet, but people enjoyed it and it was very successful both times.
yeah, yeah. He was important. I mean, Dolphy, he should be there, up top five, absolutely. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, so cool, man. Sir, I will leave you 20 minutes that you pack and
All right, I'm back
vacate
on
the
up.
room.